Hey, this is Jason with TradingReviewers.com, and today we're joined with Sean Dekmar of TradeCaster.com. Sean, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me and being able to speak with each other. You've been so nice and helping me out, and I really look forward to this interview. So thank you so much again.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Sean, can you tell us a little bit about your trading background? How did you originally become interested in trading?
Yeah, so this goes back to the very start of college. Currently, right now, I'm 26 years old, and I started getting involved in trading probably around when I was 19. I always had an interest in stock trading when I was 17, 18, going through high school, but I really never thought it was something that I could do or something that I could really pursue. As I started getting older, I started realizing, this wasn't what I wanted to do when I was in college. I was a criminal justice major, a little heads up for you. So, of course, I respect, police officers and everything they do. Just for me, that just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to be happy waking up, for the next 20 years of my life doing that, especially having a boss, having a salary, doing that day after day. And I just knew from the very start of who I am that I know I can do more. I know I can go after anything I wanted and really achieved it. I just never really knew what I wanted. And that was kind of the biggest question kind of growing up is, what can I do? What is something that I can start? What is something that I can find that is going to lead to being able to make money and be successful? Now, the thing is, money's not the most important thing in the world to me, but I do want to be able to have that financial freedom to be able to supply for myself, supply for my family, and not be underneath restrictions of, let's say, a 9-to-5 I'm not happy with. So throughout college, I realized a lot of things. And one of the big things I realized is one day I was sitting down on a bench in my campus and the bell would ring at 9:30 when people would start moving from class to class. And I didn't go to class that day. I sat there and I saw everyone move from one building to the other building. 10 minutes later, everyone is absolutely gone, learning from their professors. 45 minutes, 15 minutes go by, same exact thing. Next class, everyone moves around and goes, and does their thing. And I'm sitting there and I think to myself, where do we be different? Where do we break away from the norm? Because when I think about the norm, I think about every single person of my friends, my friends who did that normal route, who are now underneath the 9-to-5, underneath a job that they're not happy with, stuck in the debt, saying to themselves, is this all I have, for the rest of the next 20 years? And that was a really big eye-opening day for me because I said to myself, if I'm learning the same thing that every other kid is learning at this time, where am I going to be different? And I always like to use the example, if I look out my window right now and I look down the street, I'm going to see every single person probably driving, a car, let's say, that is going to be between $10,000, let's say $30,000 to $40,000. There is only a very exceptional amount of people who are driving cars that are maybe 100,000, 120, 200,000, something along those lines. Now, materialistic items, this is just an example, obviously aren't the most important thing in the world, but it just gives me or gives you a little bit of visualization is, how do people, again, afford that? Because going the normal route, learning what everyone else is learning, we're not going to be able to break out. So at some point in our lives, if we want to be able to have that next step, that financial freedom, to be able to get free of that 9-to-5, we have to at some point in our lives be able to do something different that no one else is doing. But the hardest part is of course, doing that. Because when you're first starting, guess what? People are going to look down upon you. When you're first starting, people are going to talk behind your back and say, why is he doing this? But the thing is, why not try to go do something? Why not try to be someone? Why not try to go ahead and make something of yourself? Because the worst case scenario, you fail, you're right back down to where everyone else is. That's the worst case scenario, that you fail, you're back down to your 9-to-5. You're back to where everyone else currently is. So the thing is, why not go try to be someone and go try to do something and try to make something of yourself? And that's something that really hit me, especially sitting on that bench one day and seeing every kid do the same exact thing, class to class, professor to professor, learn the same exact material. I said to myself, if I want to be someone and be able to have this freedom, I need to at some point break away from the norm. And I can't care what other people think about it. I can't care about the judgment or what people may say. I need to know that I am not, part of this norm. And if I want to be able to live an exceptional life, I need to do exceptional things. So I started getting trading back in around sophomore year is when I started really taking it serious. And then sophomore year is where I started paper trading and just learning about the market. Now, you need to understand, I was just a broke college kid. I didn't have thousands of dollars to start stock trading. But the thing I did, I always say, is being a broke college kid was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And why was being a broke college kid one of the best things that ever happened to me? Well, it didn't allow me to start stock trading right away. If I started stock trading right away, I would have lost everything right away. So the best thing was it allowed me to paper trade for about a year straight before I was actually even able to open up an account. I had to save up for about a year before I even started stock trading. I saved up about $1,400. My one friend actually loaned me $1,400, and I was able to start up with an account with just around like $2,500, a little bit over that area, to start pursuing my stock trading. And that was very awesome, and I was very happy. But the thing was, I had over a year of paper trading, a year of learning, a year of making mistakes, a year of finding what's right and finding what's wrong before I actually started stock trading. So starting off with about $2,400, $2,500 as a sophomore, that was one of the best things that happened to me, because it was after a whole entire year. But how did I really find stock trading? That's like another funny story, as well as when I was after the day that I was sitting on the bench, and I said to myself, what can I do differently? I didn't really know where to start. Everyone wants to make money, but where do you start when you say I want to make money? So what did I do? Just being very naive, I went straight to Google and I typed in how to make money. And one of the big articles I read was the big three things that came on up that's changed, of course, who I am today, which is number one, get involved with real estate. Real estate's a great way to be able to be financially free. But of course, I always think, getting involved with real estate, you're going to have large amounts of money, buying houses, renting them out, flipping them, doing anything along these lines. Number two, you can start some sort of business if you want to. Business is something that I've always loved. I actually remember when I was a freshman in college, that's actually where I kind of had my first hit of business life. We actually sold homecoming t-shirts. I actually saved up my whole entire money that I had over the summer, about $1,000, sold homecoming t-shirts, and was able to make $3,000 in profit just from selling homecoming t-shirts. And that was kind of like my first big business expense I've ever did. And that was absolutely awesome. And that definitely has helped me carry over in everything I am now. And the third thing, of course, was getting invested in the stock market. Now, getting invested in the stock market, that's something that intrigued me. The whole business side, that wasn't even here yet whatsoever. Everything now was just about getting involved in the stock market, learning how to trade. And that was something that I wanted to say to myself, all right, wow, how do I do this? Now, right away, when you hear about stock trading, you're going to hear about, option trading. You're going to hear about the SPY. You're going to hear about blue chips. And then, of course, if you get dive deeper into it, you're going to learn more about penny stocks and day trading. Now, the first thing, of course, when you read about on the internet of day trading and penny stocks and all this different stuff, is that it's extremely high risk. But people with small accounts, of course, can get involved because you're trading stocks that are not costing as much. So if we can play these stocks and we can find some sort of strategy that is allowing us to make a large amount of money that limits our risk, then that would be the perfect strategy. And that's what I've been trying to perfect, year after year after year. And it took me a whole year of paper trading before I found something that started to work. Because you hear about these stories of kids in their dorm rooms. You hear about these stories of people holding overnight. Stories about people within a day making $10,000, $20,000, $100,000. And you say, why can't that be me? Now, a lot of times these people do get lucky. They're holding some sort of, large amount of shares and a press release comes out, or some sort of crazy news comes out, or some sort of big momentum push goes flying on in and these people make money. But I say to myself, if someone can make, $50,000 in a day, how can we predict this? How can we say, okay, I want to limit my risk and I want to maximize reward? Is there a way that we can do that? And over the past few years, I've been able to definitely work out some kinks and be able to be a successful stock trader. I've been full-time stock trading now for the past 5 years of my life. And every single year, profits are getting bigger and bigger because the account's growing more and more. On top of that, every single day is a day to learn. Even though I've been trading now for, I would say, 6 years, because that first year was also paper trading, there's no ceiling on education. Every day, even at my level, I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to subconsciously even pick up new material every single day. So starting off with my stock trading, I know, again, kind of going a little long right there, but it really all started back in college, just wanting to be someone, wanting to be something different, wanting to make something of myself, and realizing that if I just follow the norm, follow the every single person path, I'm going to end up like everyone else. And where is that going to lead me? So I always wanted to break off, and I encourage everyone who's listening to this to take that chance, because what do you have to lose? Be someone, and you guys can definitely make something of yourself.
That's awesome that you had that epiphany at such an early age, and you had the courage to do what you felt led to do, regardless of what your friends and your family were telling you in the background as you're pursuing your dream. So that's really awesome that you were able to discover that. Like I said, at such an early age, because a lot of people, it takes them many years of trial and error to find where they really fit and what they want to do. Can you tell us a little bit about your trading education? For instance, what resources did you use when you were getting started in the beginning to learn? Who did you learn from? Who inspired you? Who mentored you along the way?
Mhm. That was another big thing. Me, of course, not having too much money as a college student when I was learning everything. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a chat room that I used. I didn't have anyone to guide me. So, being paper trading was my number one resource. Trial and error, right? So if I lose enough times on a stock, I'm going to eventually figure out the right way that it's going to work. And that's how a lot of my trading, why it took me so long to be successful in the stock market, because I never had someone to actually show me the ropes and guide me. A lot of my education was straight off of Google, straight off of YouTube, just typing in on YouTube, how to start stock trading, go over to Google, reading Investopedia. Investopedia is like all of my education right there. If you click one link on Investopedia, how to day trade, it's going to give you different terms. You click that term, it's going to take you to a different page. You read a little bit, halfway down, you got a new term. It's going to take you to a different page. Next thing you know, you're just diving into the rabbit hole of Investopedia, 2 hours down, 3 hours down, you're just gaining up all this knowledge. But I always say there's a big difference, of course, between knowledge and experience. The number way I like to always put this is, imagine it if you want to be a professional quarterback in the NFL. You could study every single play. You could study how to throw a football with a spiral. You can study the different way that blitzes happen and all these different ways that to read the defense. But if that's all you do and you never go out on the field and actually play a game, you can't be shocked and say, why am I not good? You can study, of course, all the film you want, but until you actually put experience and get yourself out there, it's a completely different world. So, that's what a lot of new traders I see also have the biggest problem with, is we study, study, study. And once we put ourselves actually in the field and actually start stock trading, we end up losing. And we say to ourselves, I put in all this work. Why am I not successful now? I put in all these hours of reading, and I put in these hours of watching videos. Why am I not successful? Because the knowledge is there, but the experience is not. How to control your emotions are not. How to actually read the charts not, especially when there's money on the line and something in value that you're trying to get. It's not going to be simple. It's not going to be easy. So the thing was, when I first started stock trading, the paper trading was an extremely helpful way for me to be successful, because it allowed me to figure out what to do right and what to do wrong. Every little right thing I wrote down. Every single day I would go over to finviz.com. There's a list of the top gainers, top losers. And all I would do every single day is look at every single top gainer, say what made the stock spike, what made the stock drop. Go through every top gainer, figure out why it became a top gainer. If I can figure out why it became a top gainer, I can find future top gainers. Oh, this stock spiked because there was a press release towards it. Oh, this stock spiked because there's a chart pattern towards it. Oh, there's an agreement towards it. There was a buyout towards it. There was a rumor on it. And the thing is, you're going to start collectively picking up little hints on each one of these plays. So if you do this day after day after day, you're going to see some very common characteristics of what makes a stock spike. It could be a low float. It could be a certain chart pattern. It could be a certain news press release that comes out. And there's going to be ones that are going to lead to top losers as well. And the thing is, you do this every day and commit yourself to doing it every single day, you're going to realize, okay, this is what makes a stock spike. This is what makes a stock dump. And you start realizing what you should be getting involved with and what you should be getting away from it. And I believe it was like Thomas Edison as well, who said, I found a million different ways not to invent the light bulb before I did invent the light bulb, right? Same exact thing with my stock trading. It's like I could lose. That's not saying I'm a bad trader. I'm just figuring out ways how not to make money in the stock market. Now I know those aren't going to work. So now I can keep progressing to find ways that are going to make money in the stock market. And as someone who didn't have a mentor, having someone who didn't have anyone in my family that was involved with the stock market, it was one of those things that, I just had to figure out on my own. And that's why it took me so long. Now, people who are new that are listening, of course, it's not going to probably take you maybe a whole year before you start making any sort of money. We just want to make sure that you're guided in the right path. And, it just took me that long because I never had anyone to tell me yes or no, and just had to figure everything out on myself. But a lot of experience, and of course, just using free resources such as YouTube, Investopedia, finviz.com, and any other videos I can find out there.
That's awesome that you bootstrapped it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Obviously, it makes it a lot easier when you do have some capital in the beginning that you can invest towards resources, different websites, and we'll talk a little bit more about your new project here in a little bit. That certainly can go a long way in helping a new trader kind of cut down on that learning curve. How long would you say it took you in the very beginning to become consistently profitable?
Consistently profitable, for me, just because I never had, a mentor, but probably after, probably 7.5 to 8 months, that's when I actually started seeing, profits day after day start, building up. That's when I started feeling confident. But as I say, stock trading is no different than anything else we do in life. And a lot of things I give analogies towards. I always do it towards sports because I was growing up playing a lot of sports. And the thing is, if you never picked up a basketball, don't expect to play in the NBA right away. If you never picked up a football, don't expect to play in the NFL right away. If you never stock traded, don't expect to become a millionaire right away. The people that you see out, making millions of dollars in the NBA, they've been playing basketball since they were a kid all the way till they are now. NFL, they've been playing since, high school, middle school, college, all the way up through till now. The people that are the big dogs on Wall Street, they didn't just randomly say, hey, I want to be a stock trader a week ago and start doing that. They've been putting in years and years and years of work. And that's what a lot of people kind of get lost in the social media. A lot of people get lost in that kind of phase of, fantasy trading. Now, trading, of course, can lead to a million amazing things. It's changed my life. It's made who I am today, of course. But at the same time, you can't get lost in, okay, I want to go do these things and travel the world and buy this and buy that and, not work for anyone and just be lazy all day. That's not the way trading works. You can have a lot of those things, but it's all through hard work. I always say if you want to be a full-time trader, you got to act like this is a full-time job. Yes, we can maybe some days work for a few minutes, make a great profit, but that doesn't mean we want to go back to bed. We still want to be here. We still want to soak up education. We still want to learn. So if you want to treat it like, or you want to have it as a full-time job, you need to treat it as a full-time job. And that's, something that a lot of traders don't understand when first starting off.
Very true. Do you recall the details of your biggest trade? Do you remember what that was like?
Yeah, one of my biggest trades that I've ever had was $27,000, and that was within a 30-hour span. So I actually bought it around lunch hours one day and sold it the following afternoon, the next day. So I was actually holding the stock overnight. I had, I believe, around 15,000 shares on the play. The stock was able to go a little bit over $1, and I was able to make around $27,000. I actually have it on my YouTube page. It was back in 2018, one of my biggest trades. A lot of times I don't, shoot after those, huge $27,000 days just because it's so much risk. The worst thing I like, or the worst thing I hate seeing happen is I'll be up, let's say $8,000, and I'm saying, oh, let me keep holding. At the end of the day, I'm down to $500. As time progresses, I become a lot more of a conservative trader. I like to have my money. I like to lock it in. The last thing I ever want to do is be up, let's say, a huge amount and then end up losing absolutely everything just because I like retake over. So a lot of like my big time gains were a little bit earlier in my career, just because that was when I was a little bit more risky and said, hey, let's try to let this big thing run on out. And that was about 2.5 years ago. I was able to make that big time profit. That was on a shipping stock, PXS. Over the past 2.5, 3 years, every single November, and any day trader would probably back this up as well, shipping stocks would go a little crazy. We had DRYS about 3 years ago. The stock went from around $5 to about $105. It was an amazing spike. We had stocks such as DCIX, TOPS, GLBS. If you want to look up those tickers, about a couple of years ago, back in November, those all went on about $20 spikes. And then the other year, we had, I was just remembering these patterns because a lot of times stock trades fall into patterns. The way I like to trade is the past chart history is going to tell you what to do in the present. If that's on how high stocks have run or what months that they run. And sometimes we see these very common themes. And November with shippers has been a very common theme. So I remember that from the past 2 years that we usually see this happen every time. Loaded up on PXS. Stock, shot on up right on cue and was able to wake up the next day and be able to make a $27,000 gain. So obviously that's a huge day. It's a huge feeling. You're extremely happy with that, being able to make that amount of money in 24 hours, a little over that. And when some people work, a whole entire year to make something just above that. And, it's definitely life-changing. You want to stay humbled with yourself. You don't want to get overconfident because, the next day you're right back at work and, going for the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, that's so important. You got to take every day fresh. You put a big winner behind you and you got to start the next day off fresh, because the minute you think you can outsmart the market, it'll crush you.
No, that's
you have to stay humble. It's key. What about your worst trade? And what type of impact did that have on your trading going forward?
Worst trades are the worst days. Those are the ones we try to avoid. The thing is, about when you have those bad trades, everyone wants to ignore them. Everyone wants to throw them out the window and forget them. But honestly, the worst trades you make, or the biggest red days you have, are actually the biggest lessons. Everyone wants to talk about their wins. Everyone wants to show off their wins. Everyone wants to say, oh, look how much I made. But the thing that actually makes you a better trader every single day is, of course, your losses. The biggest loss I believe I've had was around $18,000 within a morning. That one was also about 2.5, 3 years ago. That's when, as I said, I was getting a little bit crazy on both sides, just letting a lot of my wins go and a lot of my losses go. And when you take a loss like that, you say to yourself, why? Like, what was my reasoning behind that? And that's why every single day, I record a lot of my trading, and that's good either because I put them on YouTube or for myself as well, where I watch it. I always like to watch myself trade because I like to rewatch the stock and see if I have the same thought process when I don't have money on the line. Would I do the same things? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What can I correct here? It's basically just like watching film, after you have a game and you say to yourself, okay, why did I make the moves that I did here? So being able to recap every single trade is so important. So if I have one of these giant losses, and like 2.5 years ago when I had this big $18,000 trade going on, I said to myself, what was the point of that? Why not just rip off the Band-Aid? When I'm down $3,000, is it fun? If I'm down $2,000, is that fun? No. But why would I just want to keep holding and losing and losing and losing and losing? So it really teaches you a huge lesson because it gives you that big, hit in the gut saying, if you keep holding, you're going to end up losing. And that's the reason why so many new traders end up losing and why so many people can't find success is because they let one trade destroy their whole entire account. Now, obviously, with me trading for a while, I have an account, that is very sustainable. And if I take a loss like that, obviously it's never fun. Obviously it's never great, but I'm able to bounce back. Most people, if they ever take let's say starting off a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 hit, that's going to end their career. That's going to end their confidence. They're not going to enjoy trading ever again. And the most important thing I can say is every single day is different. Every single day we're going to wake up, and every single morning we could see a bigger spike than the day previous. Why sit on a play that's not working? A lot of the times I talk about, stock trading is like being in a relationship. Sometimes you're going to be in an awesome play. Sometimes you're going to be super happy with this, stock, feel great about it. And sometimes, it's going to break your heart and you know what you got to do? You can't just sit there and take it. You move on. Rip off the Band-Aid. There's a million other fish in the sea. So yes, every single trade that you get into is, of course, going to have its own variables. Those losses are going to sting, but it's all about limiting those losses as quickly as you can. And that's a big thing I always try to do, especially now with my trading. I always try to make sure that every stock I get into, I have higher risk than I have higher reward than I do have risk. And on top of that, if I am not going, or things are not going my way, rip it off, move on. I've been trading now for the past 6 years. One of the biggest lessons I know is if a trade's not working out for me, I know I can do this full time. I've made, over 6 figures in the stock market. I'm going to be able to do it in the future. Why sit on a loser? But yes, those losing days definitely hurt. And, you always just want to limit them as much as you can.
Yeah, it's so important to cut losses. It's a key to becoming a profitable trader for sure.
Oh, 100%.
How many hours a day, Sean, do you work on average, and what does your typical day look like?
For me, just because I live stream my trading throughout the whole entire day, I'm a little bit different than the typical trader where you kind of make your trade and wrap up. Personally, for me, I wake up starting at around 6:45. I start live streaming right around 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is where hot news starts coming on out. Hot press releases usually come out from 7 a.m., 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. I'm on the Eastern Seaboard, New York time. So that's a time schedule that I'm always going to follow. And throughout these 30 minutes, we usually see these very hot press releases. Now, press release is one of the main key things that make stocks go on giant spikes and go on giant rips. So if I know, hey, every 30 minutes, we're going to see these press releases drop, I'm going to be watching my news streamer. I'm going to be watching for these hot press releases to come out. And if I see one right away, I'm going to jump in it right there. And then as people wake up, they start seeing the news. I always say sacrifice sleep for profit. If I was, in your bedroom and I said, hey, wake up, you could be making $500 right now, you'd be jumping out of your bed and running over there. But the thing is, day after day, a lot of people may see a press release or not see a press release, and they're saying to themselves, oh, why am I awake right now? Let me go back to sleep. The thing is, those big press releases are going to come. You just want to be ready for them. And the thing is, I've made, thousands of dollars waking up early and seeing these hot press releases. So seeing these hot press releases, I jump in, be able to make some nice profit right there. So it's so important, sacrifice sleep because you could be making some big time money. As we get closer towards around 9:30, that's where I always like to put together my game plan. I always write out a morning watch list that I send out to all our members, but the morning watch list is also for me as well. Writing out every single top gainer, every single stock with hot news, every single hot chart setup stock, every single previous top gainer, every stock that I think has potential today, it's getting, embedded in my brain. And I'm saying, oh, this is what I definitely want to focus on for this price or this price or this price. So when I'm looking at these stocks right at 9:30, I'm keeping my eyes on the scanners and seeing what's going to be getting their biggest rips and best runs. Now, between 9:30 to 11 o'clock, this is like my prime time hour. The first hour and a half or the first 2 hours of the market are always going to be the best because people are excited. It's a new day. We have all these hot press releases. The bell is open and the most volume is here. So when we have very big volume or very big volatility in these stocks, we're going to be seeing the most activity. I always say volume equals activity, activity equals profit. As long as the stock is moving up or down, we're going to be able to make some sort of money if that's on the long side or if that's on the short side. If that's, again, buying a stock for a breakout, getting a dip buy, or shorting the stock back on down, we're able to make money. And the morning is when we're going to see the most. Now, as we get closer to lunch hours, 12 to 2, that's where I usually, take a little bit of a step back. That's also a very dangerous time that most traders don't realize. A lot of people that are new, they start trading at 12 to 2, but that's the time that a lot of traders are not around their computers. That's a lot of times that we're not seeing stocks move up and down because at the end of the day, I know sometimes we kind of get lost in it, but we see a lot of stocks slow down. And we need to understand that stocks really only spike. Why? Because people buy them. Stocks drop because people sell them. And if we have a period of the day, the middle of the day, where no one's really buying or selling, you shouldn't be buying or selling because you're not going to be able to get anywhere. It's just going to be sitting. Again, going back to another sports example, imagine the first quarter of a game. It's exciting. People are happy to be there. The tip-off just happened. Everyone's jumping up and down. But then you get to halftime, what happens? Halftime, people go to the bathroom, grab a hot dog, do whatever they got to do. Things are really slow. Nothing's really happening on the field. Nothing's happening on the court. Then as you come down to the last little bit of the day, the end of the day, that's where things start getting hot. That's the fourth quarter. People are trying to make their final trades before the market closes. Day traders coming in, swing traders trying to hop in before the end of the day. Everyone's trying to get their last little profit before the end of the day. And then after hour startup, where we kind of have a few hot press releases here and there from 4 to 6. But really for me, I start trading right around 7 a.m. My day usually ends up right around 4 p.m. But I always, again, keep my eyes on the scanners every now and then until about 6 p.m. at night, just in case anything starts popping on off. So usually around my computer looking for some trades for about 11 hours a day. But again, that's just me. Not every trader has to do that.
Sean, you've been working really hard to launch a new project that has a ton of potential to help new traders. I briefly alluded to that a few minutes ago. For our listeners who aren't yet familiar with TradeCaster, can you give us a brief overview of the platform and what it was designed to do?
Yeah, so TradeCaster is where I live stream my trading every single day. There are a lot of people out there that, of course, are that have chat rooms. But what I wanted to do was make a platform that is going to help not only new traders, but also give a place for traders that are experienced to be able to strive as a trader. I always thought when creating, of course, TradeCaster.com is what did I need when I didn't have anyone? What did I need when I first started stock trading? I want to give you, of course, straight, blunt answers, have everything set up. I don't want to say, okay, hey, how do I find how a stock is going to be great and lead you to one video that didn't really have much, to go to another video that didn't have much, to just like purchase something at the end. That's not what we want here. Every single day, I am on the mic talking from 7 a.m. all the way up towards around 6 p.m. and just showing you exactly what I'm doing. So on TradeCaster.com, we have a 250-hour video library if you are a new trader and need to get started on your trading. We have a chat room with over 500 traders in it with all different levels. We have an alerts chat where I alert every single day. And on top of that, I live stream my trading every single day, where I live stream my professional scanners. I show all my trades. I talk you and walk you through every single play. And I just try to make the best overall community where I say, hey, if I had this when I first started off, I could strive and excel in my trading career at such a quick and rapid pace. Because I know so many times there are so many different chats out there that are just, let's say, Discord, and not, saying anything bad about that whatsoever. But when you're sitting and just typing in a chat room, what kind of value are you getting from that? Just typing in a chat room and not having, first off, anyone speaking, or on top, if there is anyone speaking, not having a screen share where you can actually get a visual out of it is very hard to comprehend. So not only do I want to, of course, lead by example, but I always want to teach you and I want to show you. And even when I take a loss, all our members see it. I'm only a human, of course, and I believe I'm a great trader, but at the same time, losses will happen. TradeCaster also has the ability to expand, which means that we can allow many people to live stream at a time also. So not only are there times that I'm live streaming, there's also other very successful traders live streaming. That could be me, other top traders in chat, other guests that I reach out to. And it always just gives people a platform to be able to visualize, see, and learn from other successful stock traders. So we try to always think about anything we possibly can. And whenever a member say, hey, can you add this feature? The beautiful thing about it is we just hit up our program team and they add it within a week. So any feature that people want, we always add it right away. So we're constantly growing and constantly adding new things as well.
Yeah, it's such a great concept for a trading platform, and I love the fact that there's so much transparency. That's one of the things that that you really don't see with most other trading chat rooms. You just don't see the transparency. You don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but the way that you've set TradeCaster up, as you mentioned, all of the traders that are in the room, they see every move you're making. And they get all of the ongoing commentary throughout the day, which is incredibly helpful. Again, when it comes to cutting down that learning curve and to learning the process of trading, risk management. Where to take your profits out, where do you lock your profits in at? All of that is happening real time, and everybody in the room can see that. So I love the concept and the transparency of TradeCaster.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for that. That was one of the most important things for me. And as I said, the live stream is where we live trade in real time, second by second. I bring over my P&L box from my broker and I show all my statements every single time I trade. That's the most important thing, of course. Having being a new trader, you want to learn from someone who's been in your shoes and of course is successful. No one wants to sit behind a chat room and a keyboard and hear, okay, buy now. Why? What's the reasoning? This is what I want to show you. Hey, I'm selling now. Why? What's the reasoning? There's no learning behind that. So having the live stream, hey, I'm buying this because this reasoning. Let's break down the press release. Let's go over this chart setup. Let's learn this together. Hey, okay, I'm going in at this area. All right, guys, I'm getting out at this area. Why is that? Volume starting to fade. Level 2 starting to look a little bit weaker. So we can break down every concept in real time. So not only are you going to be making money, but on top of that, you guys are also gaining an education and getting confident in yourself. And that's the most beautiful thing about it.
Exactly. What would you say inspired you to develop TradeCaster?
Just the fact that, as you said before, there are many other chats out there, and, I'm never a person to talk negative on another chat room whatsoever, but I do understand that there are chats out there that aren't very beneficial whatsoever. It's just, buy here, sell here. And people just sit around and say, why are we buying here? I don't know, but that guy bought here. So, you're not going to really get true value out of that. And I see so many people complain on that over the internet every single day. And even, people that, aren't aware of TradeCaster every single day, I'll go through Twitter or Stock Twits, and all they're doing is saying, oh, people are just following this guy or following this guy, just hiding behind a keyboard. And, that's not very helpful to their trading career. There are, of course, people that may not be in it for the right reasons, and there are traders that are trying to learn the right way to trade and to have full transparency where you can say, hey, watch me trade. I'll walk you through every single trade, and you have, of course, the decision if you want to buy in, if you don't want to buy in, but on top of that, you're also learning and just saying, okay, I get his reasoning behind it. That's the most important thing for me. And it all came down to, what did I need when I started off? Because I've been in your shoes. It's not like I just all of a sudden knew about stock trading. I didn't know anything about stock trading when I first started, 6-7 years ago. It all came through working hard day after day and giving this my all. And I think back and said, okay, if I had this answer, I could have been successful, or this answer, I could have been successful, or if this person taught me how to find, hot stocks, or if I knew how to read a press release, or if I knew just, what stocks to trade, that's what I want to break down for you. Also, on top of everything, I have a one-on-one chat room where you guys can hit me up or just ask me questions directly, and that's a huge thing as well. It's not like I'm hard to find or hard to get to. If you have a question, hit me up. I'll give you a straight answer for it. That's a beautiful thing as well. I don't want to be leading you down some crazy funnel path that's just going to lead to a DVD at the end. You have an answer, or you have a question, just let me know, and again, give you a straight answer, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah, I think it's great for learning the mindset, being there in the saddle with you every day, because you're not just taking trades. You're explaining what levels you're looking at, why they're important to you, where you're cutting if the trade doesn't go as planned. All of that is so important for a new trader that's trying to learn. It's not just about having a crutch and following a trade alert. It's about learning to be independent. It's about learning to think for yourself, learning to spot trends and to identify areas of interest and take decisive trades based on the information that you have. And that's really what becoming a trader is all about.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I agree with you. There are many communities, many chat rooms that don't really place an emphasis on that. It's more of a stock alerts service where people are simply following the guru, and they're not really learning the mindset to be independent. So exactly. I think TradeCaster is very unique in that regard, and I think that's a huge positive. What have been some of your failures so far with TradeCaster, and what have you learned from those failures thus far?
I mean, the biggest thing, of course, about having so many people watch you trade every single day is sometimes, of course, you may try to do a little bit more than what you should, as a stock trader and as someone who's doing it full time every single day. I have over 500 people watching me. And I know a lot of times, I'm constantly trying to teach education, do lessons. I'm constantly trying to trade. And I'm constantly trying to, help out every single person. And when things get a little bit slow, sometimes, you may hop into a trade that maybe you shouldn't have, or maybe you do something that maybe you shouldn't have, just because on a lot of times, you want to help out the community as best as you can, and you want them constantly engaged. The last thing I ever want is maybe, a slow, or maybe it's a time that people are bored, because stock trading is such an amazing thing, and it's such an amazing opportunity. And I just want people to constantly be able to see that. But, kind of some of the failures, of course, would just be starting off and learning what, makes a chat room really run the right way. And of course, live streaming and how to be the best mentor you can be. So, that was all the way back, when I started. The original site we had was Dekmar Trades, and then we switched over to TradeCaster about 2 years ago now, and just have been, slowly, growing nearly every single day. But, as a mentor, it's all about just, helping out, of course, the members every single day, and just making sure that they're enjoying it.
What do you enjoy the most about being an educator in the trading industry?
One of the best things is just seeing someone who is absolutely new come in knowing nothing. And by week 2, week 3, they're making their first trades. By a month and a half in, you see them over in profits chat, and they're the person saying, hey, just made $400 on the day. Thanks, Dek. Hey, just made $600 on the day. Next thing you know, 2 months later, they're making more money than me. I always find it extremely satisfying. One of my favorite parts of the day is going over to our profits section of our chat room and just, looking at seeing all the people that were new and the people who asked me such beginner questions a couple months ago, now saying, oh, hey, I'm thinking about switching over to full time. Hey, I'm making this sort of money. Hey, I've never been able to see this type of cash before. So that's always such the most satisfying thing in my eyes as a mentor, especially when they've been bouncing around maybe from this room to this room to this room, and finally have found some sort of success. So that's my favorite thing. I find it extremely rewarding, and I absolutely love what I do every single day. As you could tell, I'm extremely energetic. Yeah, it doesn't seem like I die down a lot of times. This is the momentum I usually keep up from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. just because I got nothing in the world to complain about. I do a job every single day I love. I work with amazing members every single day, and we're all out here just having a fun time, stock trading. It's not much better than that.
In regards to TradeCaster, how frequently do you add new features and functionality to the platform?
We probably go every 2.5 weeks that we try to add something new, especially when someone asks for something. I always send it right to our program team, and they make it happen. When we first started a Dekmar Trades about 4.5 years ago, we started with just a simple chat. We had nothing but a chat room. And then someone said, hey, can you add a video library? Sure. Hey, can you add a live stream? Hey, got it. Hey, can we add, this, that, one-on-one chat? Can we add, tagging traders? Can we add this, that? And then from here, it's just been, explosive ever since. And we just, nonstop now. It's just whenever someone wants something, we just add it towards it, because we just want to make this the best community you possibly could have.
Well, we're almost out of time for today, Sean, but there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. What can you tell us about your future plans for TradeCaster?
Future plans for TradeCaster is just going to continue what we're doing. 2020 has been my best year of stock trading so far. Month after month is getting bigger and bigger. Back in March, I was able to make over $20,000. April last month was $27,000, and right now in May, I'm currently up about $11,000. So I'm averaging around $1,000 per day right now. Live streaming everything. We're going to have brand new lessons coming on up. We have also a brand new textbook that we've never put out before. We also, of course, adding or partnering with many different scanning companies, broker companies. Lightspeed is one of the companies that we actually just partnered with. All our members are able to get discounts on free trades, and we constantly are just searching for different partnerships and constantly always reaching out to different companies that you guys are going to be able to save money. Because the last thing we should be doing is spending money on things that we really don't need to be paying for and focusing on that on our stock trading accounts. If we put that into our accounts, of course, we can trade and make more money. We don't need to spend $200 on scanners. We don't need to spend $200 on trading fee commissions. We don't need to spend $200 on educational stuff. Let's all, again, be able to save our money. I'll get as many partnerships as we can. That's a huge thing I've been working on for you guys to be able to save your money and move it to your trading account, because that's what really matters.
That's awesome. It adds a lot of value to the membership for sure. Well, that does it for our interview today with Sean Dekmar. Sean, thanks so much for coming on and taking the time to tell us more about yourself and also about TradeCaster. We're certainly excited to see how the platform develops going forward. So that's it for today, everyone. Until next time, happy trading.